Hey everybody, welcome to this week's headlines. We're going to take a less comical approach this week. We're just going to kind of really quickly touch upon things, and I'm going to give you some quick fire opinions of this week's headline. The first one that we've got up here is there's a 1-year countdown clock that's teasing to the return of Echo the Dolphin, the game that nobody asked for a return of. Listen, when I was a kid, I really liked Echo the Dolphin. Not really. When I really think back on it, I really wanted Echo the Dolphin because the marketing was really cool. The commercials looked really cool. And at the time, the 16-bit graphics like that looked really nice. And then I actually played the game, and I never got it. Even as an adult, when people like really explained, oh, it's not that hard, you got to find these pieces, and it's like this alien quest adventure storyline. I just never got into Echo the Dolphin. But yeah, so the 1-year countdown clock is here for those of you who really want Echo the Dolphin and really hate yourself. Next bit of news here, Nintendo is suing Genki over early reveal of the Switch 2 mockups. Now, if you guys remember and you guys stayed tuned to this channel months ago, we were one of the first to break out what the Switch 2 was actually going to look like, because Genki actually let that out of the bag. The cat was out of the bag per se. And the first thing that I thought was like, how are they getting away with this? Like, you know, they literally were like, yeah, no, this is it. This is what the Switch 2 is going to look like. Well, it turns out Nintendo themselves wants to know how they're doing it. They're going to be suing them. They're alleging that it hurt them with surprising, misleading information, misleading the consumers. But really, this is going to be a tough sell, I think, for Nintendo, because really, who really gave them the information is really what they're probably trying to get down to the bottom of this. But yeah, if you are going to do something stupid, go ahead, do something after Nintendo. It's just like you're asking for trouble. So congratulations, you played yourself.
Congratulations, you played yourself.
Next bit of news here is EA's founder expects the Switch 2 to hit 100+ million sold. He defends the pricing and talks respect for Nintendo. Who are we talking about here? We're talking about Trip Hawkins. Trip Hawkins was the guy who founded Electronic Arts way back in the 90s, and then he split from EA and he founded the 3DO company, and he created his own console, and everything on paper sounded like the 3DO was supposed to be really the Super Nintendo and Genesis killer. On paper sounded great. The thing was hella expensive, hella hard to program for, and Cartman stopped saying hella. And yeah, at the end of the day, he's still been in and out of the gaming industry. Is he one of the, he's an old school voice for the gaming industry. Does he know what he's talking about? Well, he definitely did when he founded Electronic Arts, but everything he's really been involved with since has been kind of a hit or miss, right? So he does bring up some good points here. He says, I find myself realizing that this is going to be very different for Nintendo. It's going to go really well. We're now more than 40 years into, or you could say even longer than that, with Donkey Kong that came out in the 1970s, the first appearance of Mario. He said they've been at it now for almost 50 years in video games alone. They're not perfect. They've occasionally laid an egg with new hardware platforms, but the combination of their fantastic exclusive brands that fans have grown up with, they've never get tired of those, even when they transition to adulthood. It says that's something that I've always been aware of. There aren't many brands outside of Nintendo. Maybe Star Wars is a good example, where you can acquire a loyal customer as a child and then have them be with you as a paying customer for the rest of their lives. I kind of agree with that statement. So yeah, I mean, Trip Hawkins has high expectations. What do you guys think? Is the Switch 2 going to hit 100 million units? It's going to be tough. The next headline that we have here is EA. Speaking of EA abandons the longest running racing franchise after 25 years as the Colin McRae Rally the Codemasters really is what's come down to. Codemasters UK specializes in racing games that was bought back in 2021 by EA, of course. Here we are 4 years later, and what does Electronic Arts do? They shut them down. Basically, they say you're no longer going to be making the WRC rally games, which goes all the way back to, PlayStation 1. So, the earliest titles, Colin McRae, Rally, and Dirt. So, yeah, I mean, for those Rally fans out there, if you guys enjoyed those Codemasters games, unfortunately, last year's title is probably the last one that we're going to get from them in a very, very long time. Now that EA Sports is saying that WRC will continue to be available to new and existing players. So, thankfully, it doesn't sound like, that it's the last Rally game, or they're going to be delisting it or shutting it down, but it sounds like they're out of the rally game business after 25 years. What do you guys think? Next headline for the week was Nintendo quietly made a change to the Nintendo Switch eShop. So there's been some updates that have been going on. They've now finally got rid of the top selling games being those 99-cent shovelware games. Instead, now the game has to have been up for a certain amount of time. There's some filters that they put in place so that real games tend to pop up to the top. Unfortunately, this does mean that some smaller indie games that normally wouldn't be featured or would be featured are going to be pushed to the back. But, Nintendo's had a really big problem with shovelware going up there, especially with these ripoff games that are just straight up ripoffs, really confusing a lot of younger folks, especially if they're buying it. For example, it says here in the Kotaku article, I had to scroll for a bit before stumbling upon an obvious shovelware cash grab like I Am Busy Digging a Hole, which is an asset flip sim aimed at capitalizing on the success of a similarly titled a game about digging a hole, which is only available on Steam. So, yeah, that game is no longer going to be on there. So, next on the list of headlines, we've got Nintendo's big Switch update adds virtual game sharing and more, with one important catch. Let's see what that catch is. It says the ability to play the same game at the same time with one digital purchase is gone with the 20.0 update, even if you opt out of the new virtual game card system. That's to be expected. We know Switch 2 is ramping up, and we can see that Nintendo is actually preparing the firmware right on the regular Switch now, which we know can be used as a controller in a lot of games on the Switch 2, which is kind of cool. Layoffs. Titanfall extraction shooter reportedly canceled as EA layoffs hundreds. Electronic Arts back at it again with these layoffs. So if you like those Titanfall games, well, I'm sorry to say that a lot of those developers are now without a job. In Pokemon news, a man was beaten and robbed for a $5,000 Pokemon card after arranging a sale in a parking lot. The seller was assaulted and had the Charizard card stolen from him. Maybe he should have chosen you, Pikachu. Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is almost certainly expected to come to Switch. The hit anime fighter would be a big year one get for Nintendo's new hardware. As we know, Bandai Namco is in love with Nintendo for the last few years. They have ported so many games. In fact, they are porting over 4. Count them, 4. Well, 3 or 4, I'm not sure. But there are now 4 Nintendo Sony first-party games that were formerly exclusive on Nintendo Switch. So here we have Bandai Namco is going to be extending more than likely as Dragon Ball Zero, but Dragon Ball Fighting Z, that's what it is. Fighter Z is already on the Switch, which looks pretty good too, believe it or not. It actually performs well too. So yeah, wouldn't be surprised to see if Sparking Zero is definitely coming over. In a huge news, Grand Theft Auto 6 gets pushed back to 2026. Is anybody really surprised? Listen, the last game came out when I was 30 years old. I am now going to be 45 years old when this next game comes out. And I saw the last trailer, and I'm less hyped than I've ever been. Why? Because, okay, yeah, you gave us a new trailer. The last trailer was 2 years ago. That was in 2023, believe it or not. And here we are now in 2025, and all we get is a second trailer and a year back delay. I'm not impressed. It looks better. The graphics look better. Rockstar confirmed that the graphics are running on a base PS5, which, again, really lets me see that this game is definitely going to be on the Series S. And if it's on the Series S, that means that it can definitely run on the Switch too. If you are going to delay it for another year, hopefully you're coding to see if the Switch 2 can handle it. It'd be a nice game to have portably. But finally, we're going to be coming in here on Xbox cementing what we've been talking about for months, and that is giving up their exclusives. And we talked about how Xbox and Xbox fanboys would make the excuse of it's not our main franchises, but then we saw Horizon, Forza make its way over to PlayStation 5, and that's a main franchise. Uh-oh, what could possibly be next? Well, it's not Gears, and it's not Halo, so we're not third party yet. Well, Gears of War Reloaded comes to the PlayStation 5 on August the 26th, remastered from the ground up. And who put that on their X account? PlayStation, on the official PlayStation account. On May 5th, Xbox announced that a new remaster for the original 2006 Gears of War. Yes, this is the second time Xbox has remastered Gears of War, but this time Xbox is doing something that a decade ago would have seemed extremely unlikely. Gears of War Reloaded is coming to the PS5, and while it's not the first time Xbox has brought an exclusive to PlayStation, it still feels really weird. This feels like when I first saw Sonic Adventure on the GameCube. I couldn't believe my eyes. Seeing Sonic and Mario at the Olympic Games, I couldn't believe my freaking eyes. It's only a matter of time before we get a Killzone Halo crossover. Let's cross our fingers, man. Bring back Killzone. Anyway, that is all of the headlines for the week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Did I miss anything? Hit the like, share, subscribe. More importantly, just comment. Leave me a comment. And I am happy that you guys are here. The few of you that do watch the channel, it does mean a lot to me. And yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.